In a land where the sun burned hot and the rivers ran dry, there lived a man named Elijah. He was a prophet of God, brave, humble, and always ready to listen when God spoke. But the king of the land, King Ahab, was not a good man. He and his queen, Jezebel, built temples for false gods and turned the people away from the one true God. It made Elijah's heart ache. One day, God spoke to Elijah and said, "Tell King Ahab that there will be no rain, not even a drop, until I say so." So Elijah went before the powerful king and delivered the message bravely. The king laughed and became angry. He didn't believe Elijah's words, but soon the skies grew quiet. Days passed, then weeks, then months. The rivers turned to mud, the plants withered, and the people grew hungry. But God cared for Elijah. "Go to the Kerith brook," God told him. "You will find water there, and I will send ravens to bring you food." Elijah obeyed. Every morning and evening the ravens came fluttering down, carrying bread and meat in their beaks. Elijah smiled each time and whispered, "Thank you, Lord, for your care." But after many months, the brook dried up too. Once again, Elijah listened for God's voice. "Go to the town of Zarephath," said God. "A widow there will take care of you." When Elijah arrived, he saw a poor woman gathering sticks. "Please," he said gently, "could you bring me a little water and a piece of bread?" The woman shook her head sadly. "I have only a handful of flour and a little oil left. My son and I are going to eat it, and then we will have nothing more." Elijah looked at her kindly and said, "Do not be afraid. Make me a small loaf first, and God will make sure your jar of flour and jug of oil never run out." The woman hesitated, then nodded in faith. She baked the bread and brought it to Elijah. And from that day, the jar of flour and the jug of oil never went empty. God kept his promise. But one day, something terrible happened. The widow's little boy grew sick and stopped breathing. She cried out to Elijah, "Did you come to remind me of my sins and let my son die?" Elijah's heart broke. He took the boy in his arms, carried him upstairs, and prayed, "Lord, my God, please bring this child's life back." God heard Elijah's prayer. The boy opened his eyes, alive again. The mother hugged her son tightly and said, "Now I know you are a man of God." Years later, God told Elijah to return to King Ahab. The drought had lasted 3 long years, and it was time to show everyone who the true God was. On Mount Carmel, Elijah faced the king and hundreds of prophets who worshipped the false god Baal. Elijah stood alone, but his faith made him strong. He said, "Let us see whose God is real. We will each prepare an altar with a sacrifice. The true God will answer by sending fire from heaven." The prophets of Baal shouted and danced all day long. They cried out, but nothing happened. No fire came. Their altar stayed cold. Then Elijah repaired God's altar with 12 stones, one for each tribe of Israel. He placed the wood and the offering on it, then poured water over everything until it dripped all around. He looked up to heaven and prayed, "Lord, let everyone know that you are the true God, and that I am your servant." At once, a bright fire fell from the sky. It burned the offering, the wood, the stones, and even the water. The people gasped and fell to the ground, crying, "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" Elijah smiled with joy. The people's hearts were turning back to God, and soon God sent rain again to water the land. Many years passed. Elijah continued to serve God faithfully. He listened not only to thunder and fire, but also to God's whisper, soft, calm, and full of love. One day, when Elijah had finished his work on earth, God sent a chariot of fire to carry him to heaven. A young prophet named Elisha watched in awe as Elijah rose into the sky, his robe fluttering like wings of light. And though Elijah was gone, his story lived on. A story of courage, faith, and prudence. listening carefully and obeying God's voice, even when it was just a gentle whisper. Moral of the story: Elijah teaches us that true courage and wisdom come from listening to God. Sometimes God's voice isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet and gentle, like a whisper in your heart. When we stop and listen, we can hear Him guiding us every day.